A very good morning to all of you, and I hope you people are doing good amidst this pandemic, and you are taking good care of your family and the people around you. Okay, so our today's topic is a photograph written by Shirley Tolson, and before before reading the poem, I will be talking about an event which I witnessed when I went over to a place in Kargil, right? Last week I visited one of our ex-students' house, and when I reached the house, what I saw is that there is a photo frame hanging in the wall, right? So in our household, the photo frame, the photograph is a very common thing, right? You can see the photographs of your grandparents, your fathers and mothers at an earlier young age, right? The photographs are important because they preserve the memories of our older generation, right? So what I am just saying is that the photographs are important because they are preserving the memories. They remind us about our predecessors, right? And nowadays the concept of the photograph has gone through a revolution with the advent of the mobile phones, video camera, and etc. We can take photos in each and every gathering, right? For example, there is a farewell party in our school, right? So we took a lot of photographs, right? There is a particular event like Independence Day, like Cleanliness Week that we have celebrated in October, right? So we took a lot of photographs nowadays, and those photographs help us to preserve the memories. For example, when I am posted in JNV Kargil, right? Maybe someday I will be transferred to a different JNV, but the photographs will remain as the memories of my time that I spent in JNV Kargil, right? So the name of the poem is A Photograph, and the writer is Shirley Tolson. Okay, next slide please. Okay, here you can see your poet, right? Your poetess actually, and she is a very highly reputed poet, journalist and travel writer. Okay, she later came under the influence of Celtic Christianity, that is a particular religious faith, and the poetry of Tolson is characterized by her personal memories and her love of nature, right? Next slide. Okay, so in the poem A Photograph, what we will see in the poem A Photograph, the poet compares the eternal natural phenomena. Okay, so the eternal natural phenomena. What is the eternal natural phenomena? The eternal natural phenomena are, for example, sea, hills, right? Right in front of your eyes in JNV Kargil, you can see a very massive mammoth hill, right? So we often are disgusted. We are often disgusted with the hills because in winter season the sun comes out behind the hill at 11 a.m. right? So we are totally disgusted regarding the hill. Okay, and those are natural phenomena. When JNV Kargil established in 1988, if I am not mistaken, so at that time the hill was there. When I am posted in JNV Kargil, right? So in 2020, the hill is still there, that we are that we are living, right? So in this poem, what happens is that the poet compares the eternal natural phenomena, the sea and the momentary human lives. And जो photograph है, there is the picture of her mother and her memories while looking at a childhood photograph when her mother was 12 years old or so. So the daughter is looking at her mother's photograph when she was 12 years old or so, right? This will be an important question for your MCQ, right? Remember the age when she was only 12 years old. She has been deceased 12 years ago and she cannot explain her grief on her mother's loss. So she feels pain at the loss of her mother, and she is now feeling the pain that her mother is no more in the earth. But the sea is still there. So the sea is a eternal natural phenomena, while the human lives are momentary. Okay? So now we will be moving to the next slide. So here you can see the poem, the first 4 lines of the poem. The cardboard shows me how it was when the 2 girls cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so, right? So the cardboard, the photo frame is showing a picture when the 2 girl cousins, when her mother with her 2 relatives went paddling, walking through water. Okay, in the last part of the slide you will be getting the meaning. Now write it down. Paddling means walking, simply walking, or more exactly, more specifically in the context of the poem, walking through water. Each one holding one of my mother's hand. Each of the cousins, they are holding one of my mother's hand, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so, and she is the senior among the 3 girls, and she is about 12 years old, right? So to give you a brief summary, in these lines the poet is looking at an old photo album which is made up of cardboard. In the picture there are 3 girls who are walking on the beach holding each other's hands. The girl in the middle is the tallest and oldest. The other 2 girls on each side are younger than her. The girl in the middle is the poet's mother. She is around 12 years old when the picture was taken. So just like I have said, in your house, you can see your parents or grandparents when they are young, when they are at a younger age, right? So here, for the poet, the incident is also the same. She is looking at a picture that is depicting her mother in a younger age, in quite young. Okay, so now we will be moving to read the next 4 lines, right? All 3 stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. So the uncle was taking the photograph. A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. So the picture is depicting a time before the poet was born, and all the three girl cousins, they are smiling. Okay, their hair is not organized. Okay, in any coastal area, the air flow is very high, right? The air is speeding, like what you can see in the evening here, and we famously called it the Khumbathang Express, right? The chilled air that is blowing through the school in the evening time. Okay, so that is the speeding air, and their hair is not organized, and they all are smiling towards the camera, right? In the above lines, the poet describes how the photograph was taken. Her mother's uncle took the photograph and told them to stop and pose. All three of them left their wet hair open and smiled at the camera. The poet's attention is drawn towards his mother's face, which is described as a sweet face. Okay, so all our mothers are very lovable to us, and our mother's face is always sweet, right? That is why the face is described as sweet face. Okay, so now we will be moving towards the next slide. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Okay, so the sea is a natural phenomenon. It is also an eternal phenomenon, right? And the sea has changed less. It does not change much. Washed their terribly transient feet. But the human existence in this earth is momentary. Likewise, I said, the hills will be there. The hill, in and around JNV Kargil, the hills was there. The hill was there when I am not here, right? The hill is still there when I am here, and I will be transferred or move out to another place, but the hill will still be there at their place. So the presence is eternal, right? The presence is eternal. Okay. The photograph was taken long before the poet was born. The poet calls their feet terribly transient, as they were so young by then, and now they had grown older. So you can say so young and now they had grown older. So it depicts change, right? It depicts physical change, but the sea, the appearance of the sea is eternal. On the other hand, the sea which touched their feet has changed less. The sea has not changed a bit. Okay, so now we will be moving towards the last of the poem. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot, means photograph. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed us for the beach, the sea holiday. Okay, so I said photographs are meant to preserve memories. Okay, photographs are meant to preserve memories. So after 20-30 years, they will be looking at the photograph, and she would laugh. You see, Betty and Dolly, they were so young, right? This is a thing that we often heard. So for example, when you are in your adolescent, right? The period that you are going through, you are in your adolescent period. So you visited a relative's house after a long period of time, and they will inevitably say, oh, you are grown up now, okay? You are grown up as a man, right? You are grown up as a lady, right? So say that kind of thing. 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the photograph. She would tell me to look at her cousins, okay? See the cousins and how they dress up, how they decorate themselves for the coastal area, for the beach. They would have planned to take a photograph beforehand, and they planned to take a photograph. They planned to take a memories. In previous days, the photograph was the photograph. I mean, the taking of a photo was not so easy. You need to prepare for it, right? So they have planned a photograph beforehand, and they were so young, and they decorated themselves for the beach, right, for the photograph itself. Okay. Was her past, mine is her laughter, both worry with the labor is of loss. So the photograph, okay, was her past, was her mother's past, mine is her laughter. The mother has died, so for the daughter, her mother's laughter is a memory now, right? After the death of her relative, her laughter, her words, her behavior, her attitude remains the source of consolation, remains the source of solace for the mother. Both worry with the labor is of loss. Both are facing their loss. Both are labor days of loss. Both are facing the painful memories of death. Okay. The poet recalls the sea holiday was her mother's favorite moment from the past, while the poet's favorite moment from the past was her mother's laughter. Both the women would think about those past memories which they cannot live again. They tried their best to adjust to what they lost. So they lost their time. You are in JNV Kargil, you are residing in the hostel, you are living your life. So one day the time will be over. You will be moving to your college, university, medical college, IITs, etc. So at that time you can only relieve, okay, RELIVE, relieve or enjoy the memories of JNV Kargil, not the actual state, right? So they tried their best to adjust to what they lost. They tried to cope up with the feeling of loss, right? So in the poem of photograph, there is a feeling of loss that is echoed through the poem. Next slide. Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived, and of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all. Its silence silences. So her mother was dead long ago, and the girl is living now, and the circumstances is quite tough. And when we are losing our parents, our friends, or anyone, any relatives, we have nothing to say at all, right? We feel the pain, right? We feel the loss, but one who takes birth, he or she will die one day. That is certain. That is inevitable. That is the law of nature. So there is nothing to say. There is nothing much to say, but there is always the feeling of loss and pain. Okay? In the above lines, the poet says that her mother died 12 years ago. The same age her mother was in the photograph. So remember these lines, because this will be important for your MCQ. Whenever the poet thinks of her mother's death, she cannot explain what effect she has of her mother's death. Death has silenced her mother, which has also left her speechless. So death, I mean, the death का जो ये होता है ना, the symbol of death is silence. We remain silent to in the face of death. When we face death, what we can do? Nothing. That is the law of nature. That is the law of the Almighty. We could do nothing but to remain silent. Okay? So in the poem, The Photograph, that is how the poet compares the eternal nature, that is the hills, sea, and etc., with momentary human lives. We are here in this earth for a moment. The earth will go on even after our death. Okay? And Next slide. Here you can get some vocabularies, okay? So I will be sending you the PPT, so go through it. Next slide, please. And here you will get some another word meanings, right? And now we'll be moving to questions. Next slide, please. Okay. So the most of the word meanings are familiar with you. Still, I have given it for the ease of your understanding, right? Now we will be discussing some questions. Okay. Next. Okay. So go through these questions. These are very important questions for your understanding of the poem and for the understanding of the English language and vocabulary. Okay. And I will be sending you the PPTs, so go through the questions and we will be meeting in the next class. Okay. Till now, thank you everyone. Thank you.